Galen, quick! What's your video game-inspired rapper name?
Megabit Jammer.
Megabit Jammer?
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit more rocky than it does rappy. I don't think I would go see Megabit Jammer spit some pixels.
Well, fortunately, I have multiple tries throughout the show to, just get it right that one time. It's all about that one perfect run.
I'm leaving every one of your screw-ups in this episode.
All right, so that begs a question. What would yours be? I can
See?
talk this episode.
See?
This is going to be a thing.
Uh-huh. Already jinxing yourself.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, this isn't fair because I came up with the question and I'm, much smarter than you. So my answers that I've already thought of are DJ Stat Boost.
Oh, I like that.
Or Lil Start Select.
Lil Start Select. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
I like that last one because it kind of shows off my personality. I'm sassy and I play by my own rules.
Can I change mine to the Grinder?
If you want that connotation, sure.
Hey, if we're trying to stay thematic to something, then there's a niche for everything.
I don't even know what that means. Let's get to the episode that starts us. Hello, my lovely Boos and Sheikah. Friends, thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 79. My name is Oni Dino, and with me I have a project canceled in pre-production, and the concept art is embarrassing. It's Galen.
Yeah, I was so close to the release date, but I just couldn't get that stretch goal for my Kickstarter. So, you'll never know what could have been.
And maybe we never need to know. But what our listeners do need to know is... I don't know.
Yeah, you had a decent segue, but you just need to push the follow through there.
I had a rough time sleeping, okay? I thought I was gonna get like a full night's sleep because I wake up in the middle of the night because I have insomnia, blah, blah, blah. This time I woke up because my cat was retching because she overate, and she also needs to be brushed because of the hairballs and blah, blah, blah. And so I had to clean up puke at like 4 a.m, and then I couldn't get back to sleep, and I'm tired, man. And video games are exhausting.
The hard times of DJ Start Select.
No, it's Lil Start Select.
A Lil Start Select. Sorry.
DJ Stat Boost is my failed DJ career.
Ah.
Yeah.
Was it just one of those temporary stat boosts? That just it lasts for a battle, but then it just goes away?
You know what? That was a good one, Galen. Good job. Retroactively, it became one, yes.
Nice.
So what are we going to be talking about this episode? We got financial briefing results, lots of great news out of Nintendo on that front. Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath was announced, and that kind of begs the question of
why?
Well, not necessarily why. It begs the question of pre-order culture, diminishing returns, when to, play a game versus not play a game. There's a lot of, there's a lot of raw opinions on that I've been hearing from the community. So we'll be talking about that. And we saw some really interesting concept art from Retro Studios, an artist there, on a couple of projects that never made it out of pre-production for Nintendo. Just some nice, fun, loving stuff. Gotta keep it positive. The world is a rough one out there, and we're doing this podcast every week, rain or shine, to brighten your day. So Galen, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Let's critique it. Let's bitch about video games for no apparent reason in our adventure log.
That is what we do on the show.
Oh, and by the way, I totally forgot. Please we're a weekly show, episodes live every Sunday. Thank you for joining us, blah, blah, blah. Please leave us a rating or a share or blah, blah, blah. It helps us grow, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Those reviews and those ratings actually really do help us out, so much appreciated.
Absolutely. The algorithm nonsense is an impossible fight, and your kind support, you taking a little bit of time to write a review or leave a rating or something like that, that helps us tremendously to grow. So really thank you for doing that. It's totally thanks to you guys that we are growing.
Yeah. Growth is a good thing. It is important.
There's a joke in there somewhere. Galen.
Yeah.
Galen, you love Mega Man so much, and sometimes you talk about him on the internet. Where do you write your erotic friend fiction on Mega Man?
Well, you can catch my latest my latest fan fiction, where it's bass and roll, of all people. No, I think I grossed myself out a little bit on that one.
Yep. Yep.
Send your complaints to that last joke on Twitter. That is at Mobius087. What fan fictions are you writing, and where can they find them?
Well, it's not so much a fan fiction as it is murder porn, and it's about you. Nope, getting worse. Anyway,
yeah, I'm very frightened now.
This is a rough podcast. Let's just start off rough. My Twitter is at Oni_Dino.
Is that how the fanfic starts? Let's start off rough.
Damn it!
So, your erotic murder porn fanfiction sounds very spooky. What other spooky things have you been involved in?
Well.
You need a minute there?
I don't know how I get away from erotic friend fiction right now and murder porn.
It is kind of difficult. It kind of sucks you in there.
Oh, hey, not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a new puzzle game adventure game starring Luigi, a vacuum, and other people I don't know. Mario? Princess Peach? I don't know. I don't know who they were. The plot is as paper thin as the see-through King Boo himself, who comes back again to be the antagonist again in the third game, and it's the same stuff, and you just play, and there's a bunch of ghosts, and it's the exciting, scary game with the spooky ghosts.
So, Oni, you've been continuing Luigi's Mansion 3. How's your play on that been? How has your play been on that? Wow, I'm sorry, folks. This is going to be a really rough show today.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. This is the quality that you bring to the show. Everyone knows by now. You refuse to get better.
I do. It is in my contract.
Actually, you put more effort into... Okay, we have to go. Luigi's Mansion 3, I gotta tell you, the first part was compelling enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those who don't know, Luigi's Mansion 3, you go on a vacation, you're Luigi, and you're with Mario, Peach, and some Toads. And I love Toads, I really do, but I'm also really annoyed that it's like, why don't you just, like, give a little bit of a personality to a couple of Toads? That way you can be like, oh, this is, like, Toady, and this one is Tada, and this one, you know what I mean? I don't even know. Like, those are bad names. I know.
Todd
we'll
the
workshop
Toad?
them. But, just give them a little bit of personality if you're going to have them be reoccurring characters. I don't know. I have a problem with, like, Mario characters in general for that kind of reason. Anyway.
You should make one of them that is very enjoyable to be around. He's the life of the party. Some would say he's a fun guy.
No, his name is Party Toad. That's Party Toad. So actually, these three are Party Toads because, like, you go to a special hotel thing and the hotel's haunted, blah, blah, blah. Everybody gets kidnapped. But before everybody gets kidnapped, they're like, okay, Mario, Luigi, Peach, your rooms are on this side of the hotel. Toads, your rooms are on the other side of the hotel. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the party wing. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So I was enjoying it at first because, like, you know, you're totally swept up in the visuals of the game, and the presentation, the art direction, even the atmosphere is like just cool. Like things look so weird. And I mean, the positive of this game, the big positive of this game for me is that you have all your power-ups very early on to solve all your problems.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of learning like, okay, remember that I have a suction shot. Remember that I have like a UV light kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just kind of learning, oh, how do these affect the world? How can I manipulate my environment? And that's all really exciting and like a puzzle in your brain in a different like layer. But maybe halfway through the game, that positive ends up becoming like the detriment, at least for me. It's just become a feeling of like, I've seen what this game has to offer and I'm kind of done with it.
Okay. So, for the record, have you beaten the game yet?
No, I think 2/3 to 3/4 through.
Okay. How far up have you gotten?
I just beat B2.
Okay, the second basement.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
I'm up to, what is it, floor 10, and then I went down to B2, and there's only like 5 floors left, but B2 was rough.
Right?
Like... So, okay, Galen, you, to refresh people's memory, you have already played through this game and beaten it, and you played it the entire way through 2-player with your wife, is that right?
Yeah, she started playing about a third of the way through the game with me. It is a very different experience, and I think if I went solo, I would have been facing a lot of the same kind of struggles that you are explaining right now, where the game starts to show that it doesn't have any more cards to play.
Right.
I will give you a heads up. There is one more element that they do actually introduce into the game itself. It's an upgrade to your vacuum, but they literally only use it twice in the game. And it's not even during a battle or anything. It's just, here's this upgrade. Now that you have it, you can get past the next level. It doesn't do anything special with it.
Yeah, I think I've come across that because there was a gem high up, and then I found like a switch or like an outlet or something like that.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I can't do anything with this, so I guess I get a power up later. But like the game hasn't been introducing power ups to me, so I was like, whatever, I'll just come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that it's like badly structured. I will just say that this type of structure is not for me. So, you know, as I said, you get all your stuff and then you just kind of go. And it's a hotel, so each level is a different kind of theme. And so you go to each level and you're like, oh, cool. Like, I haven't seen this yet before. This is a Egyptian level. This is like a sewer level. This is a, you know, just so on and so forth. And they really explore that. And like, that is really the strength of the game, is the visuals.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They do such a good job with that.
Yeah. And I'll definitely agree with that as well. Like the concept of each floor being a different theme, there's so many fun things that they do with that. The Egyptian level that you were just talking about, I love that they started to hide different things in the sand, and once they introduce that concept to you, they put you into a room where the entire floor is nothing but sand leading up into the main period pyramid.
Yes. See, you're screwing up words more often than I am in this episode. It's because you cursed yourself. You put a witch curse on yourself earlier in this episode. In the cold open. I just stopped at the pyramid level, or the Egyptian level. So I feel like a lot of this game, my loves with this game are the visuals and the animations. My God, Next Level Games, I believe that's the name of the studio. They're a Canadian studio. Yeah. They are amazing at all of these animations. They are so charming and just full of like wonderment. Like I feel like a kid looking at like a animated movie, like probably when I saw Toy Story or something like that, for the first time. It's just amazing. Like there's all of these one-off animations that you never see again. And they're so detailed and they're really, really incredible. If you are like a 3D animator or you do rigging or anything like that, you must do yourself a service and see some of these animations in the game.
Yeah, Luigi specifically, his facial expressions are probably the most animated that I've ever seen in any Mario game ever.
Right, and it adds so much like character to him. I love that Luigi is, the scaredy cat, and that's what I would really like to see out of the Mario characters so much is like a little more personality. I know they're the Mario characters, they have to be safe, they are the mascots, right? Like Mario in particular has to be, basically a face, and that's it. He can't have a personality, But Luigi can, and even Peach could, and definitely Daisy could, so I just wish that they would explore that a little bit. Just a little more fun.
And they did it in such a great way that everything does, it still feels safe. They can still extrapolate that forever. There's there is a surprising amount of depth to the simplicity of what they did.
Yeah. And that's all I want to see is like them take a step in a different direction. Like they don't have to like stop being safe. They won't be. So I need to think realistically, right? Just take a little step. That's all.
I do have to say, like, I really do feel like they started to run out of steam at the end of the game with that level of creativity and just care for everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think you've gotten to it yet, but again, the dancing DJ club level that is like the second to last level that you actually get to. I still feel like that is such a missed opportunity, and I really hope that you continue to play to get to it, because I'd love to talk to you more about that particular level.
Yeah, I think honestly I need to take a break from the game because I was having so much fun with it early on, and then like I was playing a little bit of it last night, I want to say, or no, the night before, and just it was a slog, especially on B2, because okay, before I get into something like that, just to explain to people who aren't familiar with it, the gameplay loop and the like objective of this game. So you know the story objective, but like what you do in the game is you have your vacuum and you have, I counted them, 6 different methods to solve puzzles and make progression. So you suck, blow, and light, and a bunch of other stuff. We can't get around suck and blow, okay? There's no avoiding sucking and blowing.
Everybody's got to just nut up and do it?
What? You could have at least worked the word flash in there or something like that. Anyway, so, it's amazing at first, and, you go into a room, and everything has, like, physics to it. Almost everything has physics to it, which, is very different from the very first Luigi's Mansion game on GameCube, of course, because of hardware limitations. So that's what's really exciting in this game is it's like, what can I do? And that's so much fun, but eventually it's like, all right, I've done this a lot and I'm still just kind of doing the same thing. And it kind of becomes just void of fun. I'm just not having fun.
Yeah.
They do a good job of introducing slight variations on gameplay elements. Like, for example, with B2, you're in the sewers and you are playing as Luigi and Luigi, and you're on different levels, and one person moves ahead a little bit to unlock a switch that can make the other person move ahead on the bottom level. There's like sluices like you would think of with a sewer, so that's a new gameplay element for this game that they haven't been doing earlier on in the game so much.
That's also the level that with the certain aspects of the level are flooded, so you're using the blowing function of the vacuum to actually propel your boat forward while you're switching over to Luigi, who is on land, and kind of switching back and forth to inch your progress along.
Exactly. And that's good. That was all good. It was puzzle solving. However, it went on too long, and that's kind of how I feel with some of these levels, is that they just kind of overstay their welcome. And especially by the end of B2, I was like, oh my god, I just want to be done with this. It took me a really long time to get through it, because when you're in the water as Luigi and you're sitting in like a rubber ducky and you're pushing yourself around, and it's charming. Like visually everything is super charming, and I smile until I'm like playing.
Yeah.
And like you have to sort of deal with the momentum of Luigi pushing and pulling himself in that, and you end up running into spikes, which makes you kind of die, and you have to start over from like the area you were in just before, as opposed to just take damage. And it just really overstayed its welcome. And then there was the boss, and I was like, oh my god, like,
oh, that boss fight was dumb.
Yeah, that's
I
another thing.
hated that boss fight.
Another thing is that I think that some of these bosses are really cool, and I appreciate that they tried so many different things with it, but I don't think that they telegraphed things too well.
Well, and on top of that, the boss fights are really, it's not necessarily a test of skill, it's more of a test of, here is this puzzle, use your tools to figure out how to solve it.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that. It's just that sometimes it's a thing that I've never done before in the game, not even on that level. Like, if it's something I did in, the previous level and then it comes back in this boss fight, that's cool. But, like, you gotta breadcrumb me a little bit to do something that's out of the ordinary. For example, this was so annoying, I had to look it up because I was like, what the hell? There's a boss fight where you fight a T-Rex, like a T-Rex skeleton.
Oh, yeah.
And basically you have to distract him so that way you can shoot something into his chest. And you learn that because two things fall from the sky. You shoot one of the things at him. He, I think, eats it and he gets distracted by that. You grab the second thing, then you shoot him in the chest. Then after that, you only get one thing that drops from the sky. And I'm like, okay, I know I need to distract him. Like, they taught me that. How am I going to distract him? I'm trying to do everything I possibly could. I looked it up, and you had to use Luigi. And the T-Rex has to eat Luigi and then get distracted by eating Luigi. And then I shoot him as Luigi. And I'm like, how would I have thought of that? Because I've never had to do anything like that before, and Luigi would normally take damage from something like that. You have to, if it's not one of those 6 power-ups that you're using, and I mean, Luigi is one of the power-ups, but still, like, that is something I've never done before. You have to sort of introduce that somewhat earlier, that Luigi can get eaten by something, and then you have to shoot him or something. Like, introduce a new enemy that does that, Well,
and it's interesting to hear you talk about these little complications that you're coming across, because like, taking a step back and going to the second basement floor, I felt like that you were talking about how long and how just burnt out you felt at the end of that. The boss fight was a pain in the ass, but the actual level itself, I don't think I shared that level of just exhaustion with it, and I think it's because I was playing with somebody else.
Right.
I didn't have to take that extra time to switch back and forth between myself and Luigi. I could do both of them at the same exact time.
Right. That saves a lot of time.
That saves a lot of time, and it really speeds everything up. So I'm curious, if you were to play this in 2-player, if you would come across similar, like, objections and problems.
Bro, I can't even think of something I would want to do less. I know what I'm doing tonight, and that is not it. I don't want to play this game anymore.
No, that's true.
It's such a shame, too, because, and I hate to be negative, I'm surprised I'm negative about this game, because I was so excited for it. The opening parts, I loved it, and I just can't believe I've come around the other way on this.
Yeah, the first half of the game is absolutely amazing, but literally, like, once you go down to that second basement level, that's where you really start to feel the rush and the, okay, let's just kind of either pad this out or get it over with kind of mentality.
And what's funny is you say, like, that boss fight was a huge pain in the ass. For me, it wasn't that big of a pain. It was just that I was like, okay, he's throwing bombs. Do I suck up the bombs and then shoot him at him? No, not that. Okay. Do I push him into the bombs? No, not that. Okay. Do I push him into the spikes that are on the thing? No, not that. What am I supposed to do? And then I realize you have to wait for him to get dizzy, and then you can suck up his rubber ducky. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I haven't really been doing that throughout the level, and you've introduced other things that, like, are similar, and I just don't think that they sort of, like, lead you on too well.
No.
And that's part of my other thing with it, is that, like, ultimately after I've been playing this game, I'm like, who is this game for? Who is this, targeted audience? Is it kids? Because usually Mario games are for kids, maybe a little bit older. I mean, it's for everybody, but, familiar and friendly enough for a kid. And Luigi's Mansion is a puzzle solving game, so, like, maybe a little bit older of a kid, like maybe a 12-year-old or something like that. And I'm thinking, like, if I'm having trouble with this, like, I don't know, maybe I am over the hill and I'm senile and there's something wrong with my brain and I'm just getting dumber by the minute. I know I can feel my reaction time slipping in video games. I know I'm dying, but But anyway, to sort of end on a more positive note, the audio and visual presentation is great. I already talked about the visuals, but the audio design is very nice. The sound effects are varied and extremely effective. Luigi is so gross sounding.
Mm-hmm.
He is really goopy and squishy and splurty, and it's just really nasty.
And I love how they actually play that up in various like cinematic elements of it. Like when you pick up an item or a key as Luigi, you like shove the key inside yourself and start walking around with it. And it's just, that's so cool.
Yeah. There's lots of little touches like that are just like, oh my God, so much love went into that.
Mm-hmm.
There was one like early on boss fight after you beat them and got the key. I don't know if this happened to you because you're doing 2-player, but for me in 1-player, Luigi gets the key, and then Luigi, like when you switch between Luigi and Luigi in 1-player mode, Luigi like loses his soul, and he sits there and he's like, he's not even a zombie. He's just sitting there like he's asleep almost, and it's freaky. There's some weird stories that can be written there. And Luigi gets the key, and Luigi just kind of like barely puts up his thumb, and he's just like, yeah, I did. It's just like, whoa, what is happening in this like nightmarescape?
I think you have the topic of your next friend fiction.
Yeah, or my next murder porn. Or maybe Worlds Collide.
Friend murder porn.
Oh, God. I don't know. I guess in general, just my problem really is with the structure and maybe a little bit of the level design. There's some backtracking that you do that is not fun at all. Like sometimes when you you're getting little buttons to put into the elevator to go up on different floors. Many times when you beat the boss and you get a button, it gets stolen from you or you drop it or something like that. And then it just like, it gives the player that feeling of like, oh, fuck, I gotta do this now. Like I thought I was done. And it really doesn't feel good. And without that sort of like Metroidvania aspect where you get a new power that unlocks new areas, that way backtracking to other floors or whatever doesn't feel like a chore. Without that, I just feel like I beat a floor and I'm done with it forever because there's nothing else on there for me to do. And I don't know. This structure is not for me. Don't want to play. I can't think of anything less that I want to do than play this game right now. Oh my God.
So you're telling me that we will never see the completion of Game Married Luigi's Mansion 3?
God, I don't know. I really don't. Because, okay, so I have a YouTube that's been on hiatus for a bit just because life stuff is crazy. It's called Game Married. Gayme Married. Cliff, my husband, was playing it, and we were having a great time. And
you literally were just about to get to the point where both of you could play at the same time. Like you had just unlocked Luigi.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to go on there. It's basically just going to come down to, does Cliff want to play it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good job.
Speaking of good jobs.
You job good. Tell me about what kind of jobs you give out on the street corner.
Do like to job good? Wait, what? I'm so confused.
What kind of jobs are you doing? Jobs, B jobs, F jobs?
J jobs.
Explain.
Those are things, right?
Explain.
So I have been playing Good Job.
Oh! I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought we were talking about erotic friend fiction. Go on, tell me about Good Job.
I have been playing Good Job. Now, this is a game that came out back in March. Developed by Paladin Studio, published by Nintendo. This is a quirky, fun game, and I really like it. So
I'm trying to remember which game this is, because it came out around the same time as a couple of other games that are a little bit similar, like Moving Out. So refresh my memory. What is this game?
Yeah. So this is a game where you play as a Megacorp's CEO, Inept's son. He gave you a job you start as like a custodian in the game, and the entire thing is to complete exaggerated tasks, just working up the corporate ladder, sometimes knocking it down, and it's just a gigantic OSHA violation wet dream.
Oh my god.
So it's all physics based, and you play as everybody is this kind of, it's like a thicker stick figure.
A thick figure, some may say.
A thick figure, yes. You know the stick figures that you see on like a wet floor sign or something? Think of like that as the character that you're playing.
Gotcha.
So you'll start off a level, and it starts off that you go literally up the floors of this corporate building. And the first floor is reception. And in there, each different side of the building is a different level with different objectives. So you'll go into your first one, and the objective is get everybody into the boardroom meeting, because somebody's giving a lecture, and then everybody just wanders off. One person is playing the Switch, the other person is sleeping over in the break room. They're everywhere.
I wonder if that's what the break room of Nintendo of America looks like.
I would imagine. Beyond that, you just have to complete this objective. In this particular one, if they are sitting in an office chair, you would pick up the office chair and wheel it over to that area. The game grades you on 3 factors: time, corporate damage, and items destroyed. So there are tons of like expensive paintings and jeweled vases and things that are scattered around, where if you knock them over, they break at the drop of a hat, and that's kind of the fun of it.
Galen, I'm going to say that you need to drop the charade, adjust your schedule, and start pronouncing it vase.
Vase? Yeah. It was a 50-50 flip as to which one I was going to say, So you want to try to complete these objectives as quickly as possible, with destroying as little as possible. And if you do have to destroy something, have it just be basic things and not the expensive stuff.
Oh, interesting, because like what I saw from the gameplay trailers, I thought the goal was to destroy a bunch of stuff. This sounds actually way better.
It's very interesting, and it definitely rewards you for being careful and being thoughtful on things as well. So one of the levels is you are in a shipping area, and you have to move all of the shipping crates from point A to point B. Well, you can do that by just literally picking up and knocking everything over and just dropping it off, and yeah, that'll finish the level, but you're gonna get like a D ranking and incur like $48,000 worth of damage in the meantime. So that is where the replayability comes in, and where the skill of the game comes in as well. There are also so many different collectibles. With your little stick person, you can change out the hats that they are wearing, as well as a clothing outfit. So within the first 5 minutes, I started wearing a Viking helmet with a Viking shield, just kind of running around and collecting trash. So
that sounds like my every Saturday, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Collecting trash.
Yeah, mine is wearing the Viking helmet. So there's a lot of fun customizing that you can do, which is also really good because the game is also co-op. You can play this with another person. I haven't run across any levels where having a second person would necessarily make things easier or more challenging. Like, this is definitely one of those games where it gives you the option, and you can have some fun time with a second person, but it is by no means necessary or anything. It's kind of like an afterthought of, we're just going to put the second person in there.
Gotcha. Have you tried out the second player thing with your wife?
I played it for a little bit, and that's kind of what gave me the impression of, yeah, you can have a second person there.
But it really doesn't matter?
Yeah, not so much.
Gotcha.
Kind of like playing those, like, oh god, what's the cooking one?
Cooking Mama?
Overcooked. No, Overcooked. Yeah, like cooking, or Overcooked, or Moving Out. Like, you can have a second person there, and it definitely increases the fun of the experience you're having with that other person. It doesn't necessarily change the game experience itself. So, with that said, though, it does prompt some very interesting opportunities, and I'm wondering if this is going to come into play once I beat all of the levels or unlock everything. The game really prompts you to think creatively, because it introduces new elements, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what you want to do with those new elements. So,
that's fun.
For example, there's this level where you are introduced to a fork truck, and you get in it and you can start moving things around, but there are different routes and different ways that you can use this fork truck. You can use it to lift up a pallet to a higher platform, or you could literally navigate through this maze-like area with the fork truck in order to get it from point A to point B.
Okay, you've said it 3 times now. I have to say, I've never heard fork truck in my life. I've heard of forklift.
Oh, but
Is it really called fork? I mean,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, fork truck is what we call it at the place that I work at. So.
I see. Well, if you don't live in that microcosm of wrongness, for all of our lovely listeners.
Forklift, fork truck.
Yes.
But yeah, so it definitely invites a lot of different ways to accomplish the same objective. And I'm wondering if utilizing those different unorthodox methods are going to help achieve goals faster and make that time limit. Like, there are extension cords in the game that you can use, and you'll often find them like plugged into TVs or vending machines. But you can rearrange them and like plug them into something across the room, and it suddenly becomes a rubber band, bowstring, bungee cord that you can take different furniture items, pull it back, and just shoot it across the stage.
Oh, cool.
And people. It works for people as well. If they're in an office chair, you can shoot them across the level.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that they give you an objective, and it's your responsibility or your fun to figure out how you're going to get to that objective.
Exactly.
And that's giving me total Untitled Goose Game vibes.
Exactly. And there's definitely a spirit of that as well. The physics also work very similar to that, where in Untitled Goose Game, you're dragging stuff along, and sometimes it cooperates with you, sometimes it doesn't. There's this ragdoll physics-esque mentality of the game. I will say that Untitled Goose Game is a lot more polished than this game. I have had some like physics bugs happen sometimes. One time I actually got stuck in the floor.
Normal.
As you do.
I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes my pelvis is just in the basement.
It's true. But the game also recognizes that might happen, and it just gives you an option to reset your player as opposed to resetting the whole level. So it recognizes things are going to get wonky. So, and I appreciate that.
I absolutely love that. That makes me think of like maybe Skyrim or something like that, where sometimes you could get totally stuck. You could just like completely screw yourself over, but there was always the fast travel option. I mean, if I'm remembering right, it's been a while since I've played an Elder Scrolls game, but you always had that fast travel option no matter where you were, as long as you were outside, and that usually corrected that.
Yeah. Overall, game's a lot of fun. As I'm getting to some of the later levels, I'm starting to struggle a little bit, and I really have to start thinking in that unorthodox manner as to, okay, there's a package that I need to get across the way, but the floor is literally smashed and broken in front of me. How am I going to get across it? I can shoot something at it. I can drive a fork truck over and use that as a bridge. I can go from behind it through the ventilation system. Like, there's a bunch of different ways to accomplish the same goal, and it's a matter of how am I going to do that? And I like that creative, flexible thinking that's involved. What I'm really hoping is that, because some of the early levels are very kind of straightforward and basic, as they should be, but I'm really hoping that once you complete the game, you can replay the levels with a different set of objectives, like shoot all of the packages to where they need to go, or drop off 5 employees into the waiting room at the same time, and they just add more challenges and objectives onto the same thing to kind of direct more of this is what challenge we're going to give you for this setting.
So Galen, you sound pretty high on this game.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very casual. I don't know if this is one that I'm going to continuously sit down and play through and beat until it's completed, But this is definitely something where, hey, I don't have a lot of time. I'll pick up a level and play once or twice.
And that was Untitled Good Job Game.
Basically, yeah.
It's actually called Good Job.
Yes, just good job. With an exclamation mark. With an exclamation mark.
With an exclamation mark.
A what mark, Galen?
Moving on.
So we got the hottest news coming out of Nintendo Everything.com. Galen, what's first up on the docket?
We got some weird concept art that came out of nowhere from one of the pre-production artists over at Retro Studios.
Yes, a Mr. Sammy Hall.
Mm-hmm. He recently shared a couple of images from some demo games. I don't necessarily know what to call them, but
they're just games well, they aren't even games. It's concept art from something that was in like the earliest stages of pre-production. Basically nothing greenlit.
Exactly.
Concept art.
Some of the concept arts were of a Legend of Zelda nature. They were specifically of Sheik. Specifically, he went into a little bit of detail on these ones. They would have covered the bad ending of Ocarina of Time and followed the last male Sheik on his quest to become the Master Sword, which sounds very strange and interesting. Looking at some of the concept arts that they have here, the very dark and brooding of an atmosphere. I didn't notice that some or one or two of them actually followed a Twilight Princess-esque motif, specifically the ones where there are these kind of yin and yang wolves that are there, as well as some monsters or beasts that have this shadow element to it. So I'm wondering if some of these concept arts slowly bled over and was used as inspiration for Twilight Princess.
I'm gonna guess not. I don't think that any of this was used for anything.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the Boo project, let's talk a little bit about the Sheik project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he said, the quest for the last male Sheik, which is kind of weird that he says the last male Sheik, because Sheik is like a specific character. It's the character of Princess Zelda, but Sheikah are the name of the tribe. So I think that, he probably just misspoke.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't exist. It's just like a comment basically. So, these kinds of things happen all the time where like there's concept art or a little idea, it doesn't go anywhere and blah, blah, blah. Or if it does go somewhere, it gets changed drastically, especially when it's an IP owned by your publisher and your parent company. So I'm sure that lots of this would have changed drastically had this ever turned into a game. And I think that what we need to remember here is when we see concept art always looks really crazy and really cool, because that's part of like your bargaining stage when you're like, if you're bargaining, say, let's just keep it real simple, money, and you're like, oh, I'll give you $5 for that. The price tag is actually $10, but you always start real low so that way you compromise somewhere where you actually want to be. So like you make your concept art really crazy or really exciting to show off lots of ideas because you want your project greenlit, and then they sort of dial it back to something realistic or whatever. So it's not like we would ever have seen a game that really, really looked like this or really went with these kinds of motifs. But something similar to it possibly.
I don't know. I'd play as a character with a beard. I'm just saying. I saw that one and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is like, just for all of our listeners, if you haven't seen it yet, check out NintendoEverything.com. We've got all the concept art there that Sammy Hall himself shared. And I think it's a guy. I should not assume.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth, checking out. I wanted to mention though, like how the last male Sheik transforms into the Master Sword. I wonder if, because these concept arts, they came out between like 2005 and 2008. When did Skyward Sword come out? Do you remember? Wasn't that 2011 or something maybe?
I want to say something close to that, yeah.
So probably Skyward Sword was getting in pre-production around that time as well. I wonder if...
2011.
Oh, cool. I was totally right. I'm the best.
Yeah.
Um, so this was obviously before it was like established that Phi was the Master Sword and, you know, it was a living being. But it's interesting that they came up with that idea as well to be like, okay, the Master Sword is an entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Twilight Princess came out in 2006, so right around the time. So it might have actually been the other way around. It might have been the Twilight Princess artwork was what kind of inspired some of these drawings. In my opinion, the more interesting of the two, though, is actually this Untitled Boo project, or Untitled Boo game.
Yeah, I agree, actually. This one is really cool for me.
Yeah, so no level of detail or anything that we got with the Sheik project, but there are some concept images of Boo in various, you know, character designs, as well as some enemies or other entities that are in that same artwork style. Mm-hmm. I would play the Mario sound effect out of this game. Like, holy crap, I want this to be a thing.
Me too. And this kind of goes back a little bit to what I was saying about like Luigi's Mansion 3. I want Nintendo to like give me a Boo game. Like, what's this Boo's name? How does he live his like mundane life in this really weird atmosphere environment? And just it's a perfect way to still be safe but still try out a brand new thing. Like, I mean, look at Luigi's Mansion, the first game. That was a puzzle solving game that they have never done before, where you're like a Ghostbuster basically, and that was a great opportunity for them to just really try out a bunch of different stuff. I would love to see them do something like that. Like, even give me a Goomba project where it's maybe it's like a life sim.
I would be perfectly happy with a Metal Gear Solid-esque Boo game where you play as Prince.
Cool.
I'm seeing a lot of crowns in the artwork, so instead of King Boo, we can make this Prince Boo. And he's going around and just trying to scare everybody. But, you know, Boos, if somebody's looking at them, they kind of shy away. So that can be the, you know, the emphasis on the stealth aspect of the game. Like, there's so much you could do with this concept, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you are writing something like that, like, I mean, it's such a cute game and a cute style and cute character, but the what is it, like the premise or something of like, oh, I'm trying to scare people, but I get really, you know, shy when other people are looking at me or whatever. You can insert some really good character writing into that could be really resonating, you know, with players. And part of the absurdity of like how it's such a cute character and blah blah blah, but they're paralleling like really real feelings that people feel. I think that is such a wonderful little like game that you could make. You know what I mean? Make it like a Captain Toad game where it's like a $40 game or something. It's not a full 60. And
absolutely,
just lower budget, smaller team, and let it be a little bit weirder kind of a project. Like, I want to see stuff like that. That's just new, exciting ideas.
Looking at some more of these images, there are a couple of them that are bug-esque creatures, but there's some like metallic element to them. So, story proposal, Egad is told to check out this one various area, and he's sending out his little bug robots to try to explore everything, because he's a scientist. You can link that up. And what he's doing is unknowingly going to be destructive for the area, so this shy Prince Boo has to go and try to stop Egad from what he's doing. Behind all of that, how Egad even learned about this area are the concept images of the witches that are there. They are the ones who are actually behind this. And that's your premise for the game.
Sure.
You have, it's a very simple premise, but they could totally run with it, and I really want them to.
For me, what I want to be at the forefront is something that's like great character writing. I want it to be like a small cast of like your main Boo character.
You can easily do that. I think
that would be so much fun.
Okay, so what I absolutely loved in the Mario RPG and the Paper Mario series was you got to see these iconic Mario enemies in a different element. It would be so fun to take that turn of the head, or there's a better phrase for it, I can't remember.
There sure is, but go on.
But just take that element of seeing these enemies from a different perspective and applying it to this game. You could have, the Prince Boo needing to make deals with piranha plants in order to get down the pipes to get to the next area.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. And then you're talking like these characters that usually don't talk, right? Like a piranha plant or whatever. Then you have to deal with that. Yeah.
You can add some Mario RPG-esque humor or Paper Mario-esque humor with like the dry bones going like, hey, I'm a dry bone and I want a cake. I don't care that I can't eat it or it does anything. I just want one.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's your quest, to go get a cake or something.
And the most recent Mario RPG game, a Paper Mario game, had the best writing in the entire series. It was fantastic. It was the best part of that game. And so we know that, the talent is there for localization. So I would love to see that. And for me, like the internal struggle of like your Boo character and then it's, a coming of age story kind of thing. There's so many parallels with that where, a person learning to be themselves or not knowing who they are. There's lots of parallels with like LGBTQ folk or POC folk learning how to like live in a world that kind of doesn't match you, or you're outside of your elements. You don't even know what your element is in the first place. And that could just be so much fun. And so it would be so appreciated coming from a place that you wouldn't expect,
Absolutely.
And here we are talking about a freaking Boo.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, heck, look at some past works that Nintendo has done in this vein of character development. Look at Thousand Year Door with the introduction of Vivian.
Yeah, that got kind of gimped for the US release at least, and I don't know how well it worked in certain other Western releases, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you could have her as a guest character on this game.
Oh,
and
how fun would that be?
Exactly, and it's so thematic if you were to go along with the themes of what you were just talking about, of like that quest for self-discovery and what it means to find yourself, even though you're a little orb.
And it doesn't have to be overt or anything. It can seriously just be a parallel, and I mean it wouldn't be overt like it's Nintendo, but just something that people could read into in their own way that was up to them in their own interpretation. That's more fun, I think, actually.
No, I absolutely love I love the Boo stuff more than I do the Sheik stuff.
Me too, because we've seen this kind of Zelda stuff before. We know that Zelda stuff is going to be happening. This, I'm like, oh god, make it happen. Like it just might not exist ever. I don't even know what it is, but like looking at the art, we didn't even talk about the art, I'm sorry. The art is so wonderful. It reminds me of a lot of American cartoons from like the early 2000s, like Courage the Cowardly Dog, or maybe even Invader
a little
Zim.
bit. Yeah, it's very where the Sheik stuff is a lot more detailed and a lot more dark and realistic. The Boo stuff is a lot more rounded and simplistic and
very pleasing to the eye.
Overly expressive to a cartoonic proportion.
Cartoonish? Galen, you cursed yourself in the cold open. Oh my god.
I'm trying to work the word curse into a Boo title for a game now.
Don't, Galen. Give up. Just give up.
Yep, I'm giving up. Moving on.
So check it out on our website, nintendoeverything.com. And Sammy Hall is a very talented artist. Just check out what they're doing.
Yeah, this is really fun to look at.
And next up, we're talking about Financial Briefing coming out of Nintendo this week, talking about their entire last year.
Get ready for a lot of numbers, folks.
I'm not going into the numbers. You can check out nintendoeverything.com if you want to get really into the numbers.
There you go.
As you could expect, there were lots of Q&A on coronavirus. Kind of what you would expect. It could cause delays. We don't know. Nobody knows. But all of the industry is being affected, as well as outside of the industry. No surprises there. It just kind of is take it day by day. But the positives of this is we saw the amazing, amazing sales for Animal Crossing New Horizons. It is the best start ever for a Nintendo Switch title, beating Mario Kart and Smash Bros and just everything. And it's Animal Crossing. It's currently at least 14 million in sales right now, because at the end of March it was 13 and a half. So, it's gotta have exceeded that. So apparently 50%, and this is amazing because this goes into their digital sales as well, overall being up, but apparently 50% of purchases were digital in Europe, US, and Japan. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
They even said that, like, it could be due to the type of game that it is, the current situation that's going on. We don't expect, the digital sales to continue with this kind of trend, even though digital sales are up, year over year constantly for everybody. This was an enormous jump. So it's fantastic to hear Animal Crossing just having that great big success that it's having. It's already outsold the lifetime sales of all the other Animal Crossing games.
Absolutely.
I translated some stuff. It should be coming out on the website as well. Some extra comments from the president of Nintendo, Furukawa. So check out our website for that. Overall, the general message here is that general sales are up. Digital sales are up, hardware sales are up, mobile revenue is up, everything year over year. So Nintendo is just doing really well.
And I think in that that last mobile bit, they also were mentioning something about, like, nothing concrete, but they did have plans to expand on the mobile and bring out some new mobile games.
Yeah, I'm sure that they have stuff in production, but they don't have anything that they can announce right now. So
exactly,
kind of thinking about, like, okay, well, what major IP have they not done yet? There's definitely a Zelda mobile title coming sometime soon. That would be a safe guess out of me. Maybe a Splatoon one, but I don't know what they would do there.
I just want a remake of Yoshi's Cookies.
Oh yeah, Yoshi's Cookie would be great. But they just did do, like, Dr. Mario, and they kind of made it really weird too, so...
They did make it weird.
I'm not that into mobile gaming in general at all, even Nintendo's stuff, so I don't care.
Not my cup of tea.
We also heard that there are 27 titles on the Switch that have sold over 1 million copies. And of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still the best seller on the Switch at 25 million copies.
God, that is insane.
People love their Mario Kart.
They'll accept just a remake of it.
It's not a remake. It's like a barely updated port.
Yeah. Do you think they'll make a Switch-specific version of it with the success of this, or is there no point?
I don't think so. I think that they're better off to put one in production in the late life cycle, so that way it comes out early in the life cycle of the next console. This one's already gangbusters, and who knows how long the Switch life cycle is going to really be. They did mention during the Q&A that they think that they are barely in the middle of the Switch life cycle. I think that what's really going to dictate that is the success of the next generation of consoles, which is the PS5 and the Xbox Series
the
X.
Xbox.
It's so hard to say. Just Xbox is easier.
The Xbox is easier, but I don't want to give him that satisfaction.
I don't think that you intended that, but that was a good joke.
I would 100% intended that.
Bro, we hear what you say on this show. You did not intend it.
I can strike gold if I dig enough places. With me, it's quantity over quality.
So you got a lot of stuff inside of you that you need to dig out? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's why I see a therapist.
That wasn't a good joke. That was just depressing. It's just depressing. By the way, yay, mental health. Everybody go see therapists if you can. Like, please do. It's really good for you. Everybody should do it. Furukawa also said that there are other titles that they are scheduling for release outside of what has already been announced. So, of course, we know that there are going to be games. It's just that right now what they have announced is very light. People are freaking out about that. I understand that this is really light and it is really weird, but it's also a really weird year. I don't know what to say about that other than there's definitely games.
Yeah, and that's kind of the elephant in the room with a lot of this stuff, is just that the impact of COVID on just all of gaming altogether compared to like what we can expect. Because I have every belief that Nintendo plans on dropping a lot of new content for us at, you know, the E3 press time this year. But with the delays that have happened so early into the year as well, they probably don't have the confidence in releasing those.
Yeah.
Or releasing statements of those, I should say.
Oh, but one other thing that I definitely want to mention is that they have increased their ad budget for the Nintendo Switch moving forward. They're going to try and reach more players, which is great. I think they already have been doing a really good job on their ads for the Switch in general. Another thing is something that I'm really excited about is they're trying to ramp up production on Ring Fit Adventure to meet demand. I think we all could just benefit from Ring Fit Adventure right now. I desperately want it myself. We're all sitting inside of our houses being good boys and girls. I want to play Ring Fit Adventure. I should have bought it when it was there. I had so many opportunities to buy it and I didn't.
Yep. You only have yourself to blame on this.
And speaking of blaming, Galen, take away this next news topic.
Yeah, so we got kind of a surprise announcement this week for the good old Mortal Kombat boys.
Excuse me, Mario Kart 11.
Yeah, sorry, Mario Kart 11 Aftermath.
Right. I can imagine like Mario and like characters driving around in their carts, and like there's flaming Koopa shells falling from the heavens, destroying stuff, and Mario's like, "Oh shit!"
Now I'm just imagining Peach throwing forward a chain chop, it grabbing onto the back of like Yoshi's cart, and just like pulling it back.
Oh, that was a Scorpion joke. Okay, yep,
Yo, get over here.
That's how Peach sounds to you?
Yeah, I should have said Mario. I can't do a Peach voice.
Let's hear it. Let's try it.
Let's move on. So
I think the people want to hear it.
How does Peach sound? I can't even like mentally imagine it right now.
She's like, "Hi." It's really high. My voice like couldn't even hit that octave.
Getting back on track, so Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath was just announced this week.
Oh my God.
This is a DLC set to rectify the ending of the main storyline, which I actually watched the entire thing on YouTube because I refuse to actually buy this game, but I'm a sucker enough to try to figure out what the hell is going on.
Rectify, that sounds painful.
Trust me, the word was needed considering how they ended this series. Like, for, I guess, spoiler alert for Mortal Kombat 11, I can't believe I have to say that, but the entire thing is introducing the element of the goddess of time who has been slowly manipulating the events of the Nether Realm and everything like that to... It's basically trying to solve what messed up time things they've been doing for the past couple of games.
Sure.
Anyway, the main story ends with them defeating the goddess of time, and now Liu Kang, who has become the god. Liu Kang? Is it? That's his name, right?
Liu Kang.
That's what I said.
You said Liu
I didn't say Luke.
Kang.
I did not. Okay, play it back if I'm wrong, which I might be.
I
could have
will.
sworn I said Liu Kang. Liu Kang. Liu Kang. Anyway, they're introducing a couple of new characters, including Fujin, the god of wind and brother of Raiden. Shiva, who is the four-armed, not Goro person.
Yes.
And RoboCop, because why not?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is coming out later this month, comes out May 26th. But they are also doing some weird things as far as how they are launching it. So you can purchase the DLC on its own for $40, which I think is incredibly expensive. Mm-hmm. Or for those who are first-time players of Mario Kart 11 Aftermath, they can buy the entire thing with all of the content for the regular price of $60.
Right. And I think that for the whole complete package at just $60, that is a good price. And I think that people would see that if they haven't played it and they've been interested, and they'd be like, I'd buy that for $1.
I would not buy that for $1.
I brought it around. It's a RoboCop reference, you shit, you gobshite.
I've never actually seen RoboCop.
Get off this podcast. Get off of it.
I know, this is the RoboCop Everything podcast, so... Actually, I should just say this is the 90s Everything podcast. Let's be real here.
I swear to God, if we call it that, I am getting off this podcast. I do not want to attract all of those horrible people.
Anyway.
Thank you for supporting us. So yeah, that's the real discussion here. Like, cool, new story content, new characters, that sounds fun. That's great. $40 standalone sounds kind of high for this.
That is incredibly steep, and it is a slap to the face of anybody who has actually been a fan of this series. And I'm going to give you a warning right now. I'm going to be very passionate about this topic.
Okay, that's fine.
Because this is not the first time that something like this has happened.
No. So I think what we need to do is we need to break this down a little bit into pricing structure. If you bought the game at launch, it was $60. Then there was extra DLC. That was, do you know how much that DLC was? I want to say it was like another $40 or $60.
Yeah, regular season pass for something like this was about $20 to $30,
and there was,
as it normally is.
And there was 2 season passes, wasn't there?
I believe so, yes, because they've come out with 6 additional DLC characters to date. And that's what's also weird, is with this new, like, they call it the Aftermath Collection, spelled with a K, which
you have to.
Of course they are. Yeah. So it's like Tiffany with a Y. It's just
What?
It's just weird spelling and emphasis on the spelling and entire.
You need to get on point right now.
Sorry.
Mortal Kombat with a K is normal. That's the way it's always been.
Sorry to all of our listeners who spell their name with a Y.
Sorry to all the Tiffany's out there. Don't worry, I stand.
He'll take you out to breakfast. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Sorry. I'm all over the place.
Galen.
Save me from myself.
Fine, shut up. And also, you don't need to say the name of the joke at the end. It was fine. It was fine just before where you said he'll take you out to breakfast. At a club. The Breakfast Club. See how it made it worse?
Oh, God.
I'm the basket case.
Yes. All right. Put all these details in a basket.
So
for us.
my thought on this is, like, I'm not going to blame the people that have bought into this, but I will say that we have seen this pricing structure before. We have seen stuff like this happen before. That's why the industry itself, from certain publishers like, who is this? WB? Warner Brothers?
Yes.
And then EA and Ubisoft, they all release their games. Then a couple of weeks later, it's half off or whatever, or $20 off or whatever. And then they release more updates and blah, blah, blah. Then there's the complete edition. Then that one goes down for $20. And it's like, the industry is incentivizing you as a player to buy the game way later. And in order for them to combat this problem that they've already made for themselves, they're trying to exploit your FOMO, which is fear of missing out, by doing pre-orders, bonuses and all that junk at the very beginning, so that way you will buy the game for $60 that they will knock down. And I'm not going to blame people that have been buying this and then they're like, well, why is this, all of this? And then, oh, now, like, all of my stuff is retroactively devalued because now you're selling it at 60. Like,
yeah.
Yes, that's true, but also that's sort of the price of adopting early. You got to play the game early. I mean, not that you got to play the game early. You got to play the game when it first came out. But I'm not trying to say you should have known better and, like, blame the victim kind of thing. Well, I'm not going to say victim. Like, you're a video gamer. You're not a victim. Knock it off. But I think that it's a smart idea as a consumer if you don't want to see this kind of pricing structure anymore. The best thing you can do is vote with your wallet and not buy these games at the beginning, not buy all the DLC and everything like that. That's the unfortunate truth of it. It shouldn't be this way. It really shouldn't be. And you have to sort of punish yourself to not play the game until the stuff comes out.
It should not.
But this is the only way that you can combat it, is what I'm saying. And I'm saying combat with a K.
Normally, I would agree with you. And when it comes to the aspect of DLC in games and a full, complete, game of the year package or whatever, yeah, I agree. There's more benefit for holding off and waiting to pick up the game at a later date. However, this also kind of goes hand in hand of what I was talking about and what we spoke about before a couple of episodes ago with the concept and the premise of an evolving game series. So the reason that I feel so passionately about this is one of the game series that I really got into, Destiny. And Destiny is absolutely notorious for this kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it is a slap to the face every time they come out with a new pricing structure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the thing that I take issue with is when people are like, oh, it's a slap to the face. It's like, that comes from like a bit of like an entitlement thing of like, oh, well, they should care about me as a gamer or as a fan or whatever. I've put so much into this as a fan. They don't care about you as a fan at all. You know what I mean? So my solution...
it goes beyond that, though. It goes beyond that.
But my thing is that, like, when people want to talk about, like, I'm upset because of, I'm so dedicated or whatever. None of that matters. What really just matters is, like, do you want to see this pricing structure continue to go? Then buy it at the beginning. Continue to buy the DLC and everything like that. You don't want to see this? Then vote with your wallet and show them that, no, I don't want to do this. And if enough people do it, just like voting, then it's going to have an effect. And that's really all you can do. I'm sorry to be cynical about that. That's all you can do. If you want to just be a piss baby gamer online, all you're going to do is contribute to vitriol. That's it. How what?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that in this particular case, because with a game series like, I'll use this example again, Destiny, this is something where they specifically evolve the game and evolve the story each time, and each time that they do this, they come out with a package of, hey, by the way, you can jump into this brand new and get all of the old DLCs for apps or for free or something like that.
But I think that Destiny and like Mortal Kombat or a fighter is a little bit of apples and oranges situation. Destiny is a full-on games as a service kind of thing where it's expansion pack, just like Final Fantasy XIV or something.
However, in the press briefing for this game, this Mortal Kombat game, they said this is the first of the continuation of the story. They alluded to it in the writing that they're going to be doing this again later down the road. This is not the first expansion that they're putting onto it. So I'm wondering
I guess you could
if
interpret it like that. But this is also the first time they've ever done anything like this. So, like, I mean, nobody would have expected them to do story DLC like this. People have expected fighters to do the season pass fighters. Even Smash Bros. Is doing it. So
that's true.
I do think that is a structure that does work for especially fighters to do post-launch DLC with, new characters.
With the new characters,
I think that is one of the very few times that I think this sort of games as a service structure makes sense, just as long as your stuff is priced appropriately.
Yeah, because like as it is right now, you're paying about $13 per character.
Well, that's not a fair assessment at all, because you get...
Isn't it, though?
No, because you get story content, characters, and skins in this.
Okay, $10 per character then.
But then you're saying that you're putting a numerical value on story content and skins, which you can't really do.
But I think you kind of have to.
No, I don't think you have to, because I think that makes you think about this in your own defined terms, and then that just makes you illogical when you're trying to argue a point, because you made up your own logic.
But it also has to be applied to the logic of what we've seen in other games, and with other games.
No. It can only be applied to what they have done in this game, in my opinion. That's the closest I'm willing to compromise with you on that thought process.
But I feel like the reason that you have to go ahead and do something like this and put those numbers and put those expectations on it is because there needs to be a standard. And
sure, but it's not up to the fans to put that standard on there because they're making up their own logic. I understand.
Sure it is. It's up to the fans. It's up to the fans because the fans are voting with their money. They're voting with their wallet on saying, this is what the standard is that we want to set forward. Take, like, downloadable characters in Street Fighter. You would pay, like, $7, $10 per character. So why can't you, if this is what is accepted in that fighting game, why can't another fighting game similar to Street Fighter also have those same expectations?
Because not all games are made equally and with the same budget and the same amount of team and effort.
But they're all priced at $40 to $60. You're talking about AAA gamings.
Yes, but that's the thing, is that what one studio does for their own decision on their own budget can't be applied to another studio. Dialing it back, I'm trying to help you with this, is look at Mortal Kombat 11 and what they have done with their characters if you want to buy them piecemeal. And I think they are $6 per character. So if you want to just say, like, okay, these 3 characters are $6 in this $40 pack, and then the story content is this amount of money, like, okay, fine, that's as far as I'm willing to compromise you on.
Okay.
What's your point?
My point is that...
Did you not have one? It's okay. It's okay if you didn't have one. We're just talking.
My point is that if you are someone who's been playing the game series from the beginning, you've now paid about $120 to get the full experience, that if you have not played this game ever before, you are now paying $60. Like, it's changing the value of your item based on how dedicated of a fan and how excited you've been just in order to play the game. That's the thing. You don't even have to be a fan.
Big old eye roll at this fan talk.
In order for
just
that to
gonna
work.
say that. Go ahead though. Just because like, we're talking money right now in business. Businesses don't give a shit about how big of a fan you are, because there is an overwhelming amount of, like, player loyalty to these kinds of games. I mean, we're a Nintendo podcast. Look at the blind adoration for anything Nintendo that the crazies go into. There's that for every single game, every single hardware manufacturer, everything. There's a surplus of that because people love to associate their importance with a brand, which is wrong and unhealthy. But there's so much of it that they're being exploited by those companies because they just want the money.
Yeah.
That's what FOMO is.
Yeah. The companies definitely want that money. They want that slice of the pie, and they don't necessarily care how dedicated you are. If they get your money, they don't care about the means in which that money was received in.
Mm-hmm. Galen, that was such a Galen sentence.
God damn it.
But I have to say, like, only to the people who are well informed about this, which I think is probably a minority of the people that buy Mortal Kombat 11 and buy into the DLC and stuff, to the people that are informed about this, that have seen what has happened with Mortal Kombat 10, with other fighters in the genre in modern gaming, where stuff like this has happened before. What can I really say to those people other than, you knew that this was going to kind of happen. You kind of willingly chose, I mean, not the Aftermath DLC in particular, but just like the more DLC kind of thing, where it's just like, I'm not going to, I don't know, I'm of two minds about this, because I don't want to blame those people, but they did willingly vote with their dollar to buy the game at $60 and then buy the DLC after that, when you know that you could have waited and you could have gotten the game cheaper. Especially because we have seen this particular publisher do this lots of times before. There are some, like, if there's a game that I really like that is being published by a team, I always look at who's publishing it. Because if it's Ubisoft, EA, Warner Brothers, and there's more for sure, but those are the three that come off the top of my head, I never buy their games at full price, because there will always be DLC, there will always be a gold version or whatever. Look at Mario and Rabbids. That game in America, at least, is published by Ubisoft, and that gold edition with all the DLC goes on sale regularly for like $20.
Yeah, like 15 or something.
Yeah,
So.
it's really crazy. However, that game is published by Nintendo in Japan, never goes on sale. I've seen it on sale once for like a couple of bucks off.
So here's my problem with that thought process. Do you remember a couple of episodes ago where we were talking about our favorite game of 2020, Final Fantasy VII? And we got into an argument where...
We never get into arguments. Shut up.
I feel like this is a similar situation where saying, well, okay, they've done this kind of thing in the past. It was something to be expected. But honestly, the more I think about it, I'm kind of in the same, like, split thought process as you, because the game came out, you paid $60 for it, you bought the DLC, you said, hey, I want all the content that this game has to offer, and I'm willing to pay that premium for it as well. But now on top of that, you are now told that, hey, there's going to be more content. This content is not included in the price that you have already paid.
So if you don't like this, you should probably not buy the DLC. If this DLC ends up being like not very financially successful for them, they don't get much of a return on it, they're not going to do it the next time, maybe. If it's a big success for them, they're totally going to do it. They might even piecemeal it out even more and even more and even more. That's the whole thing with the industry and exploiting, you know, people's desires to buy into these games so much.
And I guess, I think we're arguing about the same thing at this point, because I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I hope this does not sell well. I hope that people do not buy into this kind of a format of it. I guess the source of my passion here is more directed towards trying to encourage people not to do this and why they should not do it. Because instead of putting the effort into a brand new series, everything that this story content had to offer, they could have made into a brand new game. They could have elaborated more into it and be able to made a Mortal Kombat 12 that dealt with this entire thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think that them doing another story content DLC thing is an issue if it had been priced a little bit cheaper. It should have been like a good value. You know what I mean? It should have been like, oh, this is 3 characters, new story content, skins, and fatalities, all for $25. That's a pretty good deal. Like, that's what you want out of your consumers, to be like, that's a pretty good deal. I'd be stupid not to buy it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
no, it's the charging the $40, charging way too much for this that I'm having the problem with.
Yeah, and I mean, like, on the dev side of things, I have to think, what is too much? Like, I mean, it's perception, so it isn't a concrete, you know, this is too much, this dollar amount is too much kind of thing. But anyway, I don't want to talk ourselves into circles about that, but all I can say is, like, if our lovely listeners buy games from, you know, publishers that are very well renowned for doing things like this, like the 3 I mentioned, you know, consider how you want to affect the gaming industry moving forward. Because all we can do is tell them, no, this is not a success. No, this is not whatever we want.
And really, I just can't support any game that has Scorpion dabbing.
Galen, you played Destiny.
And there was only dabbing when you bought the emote. This is canonically in the game.
Galen,
they had Scorpion dab in fire as he teleported out. That is legitimately a thing.
You need to be so much more logical because your logic falls apart. You play the Destiny, which is full of the DLC nonsense, full of the dancing nonsense.
But only one dabbing.
Thank goodness.
And it was optional.
Optional. And you bought it. You buy the things on that game. Just like this game.
Not so much. Not so much.
Yes, you do. In Destiny, are you kidding me? That game is nowadays even more rife with it than it used to be. You said it yourself in a podcast.
Play back the clip.
I will not go back and listen to this podcast. This is real. Have you heard this podcast?
Yes!
It sucks.
Every episode! And we're all right. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you.
5 stars iTunes.
5-star lie. 5-star lie. All right, additional DLC.
Mm-hmm.
I am recommending the most masculine video on the internet ever. It's called... Galen just remembered it because he watched it.
Yes.
Everybody needs to watch this video. The video is called British Lads Hit Each Other with Chair. It's amazing. It is these British guys with very thick accents. They are all wearing next to no clothing, and they have like not an inch of body fat on them. They're nothing but muscle, and they're drinking and smoking. The one guy finishes off a bottle of alcohol, smashes it.
Smashes the bottle on the ground.
The other guy hits him with a chair. They're trying to break a chair over each other's back, and
you missed the part where he goes up and he goes up to the guy who's holding the chair, gives him a smooch, and he's like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, I forgot. That's the most important part of the video. So that is also equating to the most masculine thing ever because they're clearly comfortable with their own masculinity. It's like okay, so the one guy who's going to get hit goes up and gives the other guy a kiss, and I think that it's just like no hard feelings here. Hey, we're bros kind of thing. I don't even know. I can't even figure out what the thought process is on that, but it's amazing. Everybody needs to see this 1-minute video. It's the most perfect video on the internet. End of list. Galen, how are you going to follow up that?
So my additional DLC is a little bit more, I don't even know how to follow that up.
You can't because your additional DLC isn't more anything. This video that I recommended is the most everything.
It is the most everything.
So your video is a little less...
my video this week is Dino Crisis Trilogy, a gaming retrospective. This is by a content creator by the name of Red Scott Gaming. And it's about a little over an hour long, but he goes over the entire Dino Crisis franchise from 1 to the third one, which came out for the Xbox, set in space, that I had no idea was actually a thing.
Oh, you didn't know about that one? Yeah, it was really bad.
No, I did not. It was so bad. Yeah, and he, literally plays through the entire game and tells you his thoughts on the game itself as he goes along. He skips past a lot of the action-esque things to get to more of the gameplay elements and what they mean for the franchise, what distinguishes it from something like Resident Evil, which basically a lot of people said, hey, this is just Resident Evil with dinosaurs, which it's a little bit more than that.
There's definitely differences.
There's a lot of differences, especially when you get to the second entry in the series. But
yeah,
no, it was very entertaining to watch, and he made a lot of connections to the Aliens franchise that I did not see the first time.
I love Alien.
I know you do. Yeah, give it a watch. It was very entertaining to have in the background.
I may give it a watch then.
Yeah.
Now on to our most brutal segment of the show. It's the listener mail. And if you want to use your words like chairs over our ears, which are our backs, you can write into Nintendo Everything Pod at gmail.com.
Give us a smooch and smash those emails over to nintendoeverythingpod at gmail.com.
I'll lean in. And Galen! Wait, no.
And it may sound something like this.
And it may sound something like, mwah.
Sorry, Jay. This email this week is from Jay. Hey, Jay. How's it going?
How you
Hope
doing?
You're doing well. Jay writes in, hey guys, it's Jay again. Hope you guys are doing all right. The Switch rumors of a new model that could support dual screens has me nostalgic for all the incredible games that used dual screens. I love those games, and it makes me sad that it will become harder to play them. So, here is a scenario for you guys. Cue the Terminator music.
I got you, Boo.
Oni, Galen, you are sent back in time. Your sole mission? Save the Wii U. How do you go about doing this? What would you change? Looking forward to hearing your response. Also, Oni, get some sleep, my dude. All the best, Jay. Thanks for writing in, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. I don't sleep. Also,
He does not.
my existence on this podcast has a lot of our listeners worried about me. Thank you very much. I'm literally
I've been worried
insane.
about you. Yeah, I've been worried about you for years, so it's glad to know that I'm not alone on that worry. So, Oni, let's talk about the Wii U.
All right. This is a great question. There's so many ways to go with this because I feel like the Wii U screwed up at so many different branching paths. So it's like, how far do we keep going, and at which branching path do we change? Do we change all of them? Do we change only some of them, you know?
Yeah.
Here's some thoughts that I have. We can mix and match. So number one is more RAM. The Wii U only had 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is nuts considering, like, I mean, the PS4 when it first came out had 8 gigs of RAM, and that was crazy for the time, right? Like, definitely crazy.
Yeah.
But thinking about like 2 consoles in the same generation going up against each other, where one has 2 gigs of RAM, one has 8 gigs of RAM, it's nuts. So definitely more RAM, 6 gigabytes ideally.
6 gigabytes.
Hey, I'm leaving that in now. Gigabytes. You know what? If we're going with gigabytes, then 8 gigabytes is what I really need.
Go for the 8 gigabytes.
Perhaps a different chipset from PowerPC, which is what the Wii U went with, which is what the PS3 and the 360 were, I think. I'm not going to talk about this too much because I know very little about it, honestly, but maybe a different chipset than PowerPC, considering gaming was going away from that with the PS4 and the Xbox One. Xbox really needs to change their naming conventions. They're becoming like Wii U.
Yeah.
It needs a cleaner and faster UI. That thing was so slow.
Yeah.
Like, think about how snappy the Switch is.
I honestly, yeah, I agree. I honestly do think that has something to do with the RAM limitations, however.
It could be like a bajillion different things. Like,
Yeah.
the Switch is a fast, clean UI because it is so simplistic. And I wish that it had a little bit of, themes to it, like not moving themes or anything, but just like a static image and some music maybe, optional. That'd slow it down because it needs to load those things up. As we've already seen, like people breaking into the Switch and seeing like how little memory the Switch UI uses. I will, hands down, every day of the week, take a clean, simple UI because it's fast over something that's complex. Playing my Switch and then going to my PS4, which I used to think was fast, is like day and night. Like, if I have to wait at all for any of these things to happen on my PS4, I'm like, the entire time.
Yeah, I hear you.
No Miiverse, no TV app nonsense thing. That was a waste.
I feel like the TV app was a little bit of a stretch. In my list, that is actually one of the things I would take out, is remove that TV capability.
No,
to it.
I knew you were going to screw this up because we talked about this before. You're confusing this with the other thing. You're thinking about like the, what is it, universal remote thing? Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Well, and I do know that it also had the ability to like have TV channels all set up for it.
But I'm talking about that little red app that was on there that was like, you click on that and it makes TV watching fun, or whatever they said in the promotional thing, and you could like write notes to each other. You're giving me a crazy face right now because nobody remembered it. It didn't even launch in Europe. So take that shit away. Obviously, number one, don't call it the Wii U. It needs to be called something else. Something that's like simple, poppy, memorable. Switch is a great name. So, something that's along those lines. There should be one model at launch with more internal memory than just 32 gigabytes.
Yeah, the different model thing was really weird.
It wasn't weird, it's just that it added to confusion. And that's why it was smart for the Switch to launch with one model. But more on that later. Redesign the gamepad to be more modern looking, because that gamepad really does feel like a Fisher-Price tattoo? Toy! The other T word for children. And then, when you compare it to like the Switch, it's like, oh, the Switch feels lightweight, feels like a piece of technology, actually. Launch it with Super Mario Maker, because that is a real draw for the gamepad. And Super Mario Maker, when it first came out, was a big deal, but the Wii U had already stained that game. So even though it had big sales and had a big online presence, if you launch with Super Mario Maker and be like, this is what you want, this is the social gaming thingy, that I think would really push the console to the forefront of people's minds and be like, oh, I really want to get that new console. Definitely changing the marketing angle to be more like the Switch, where it brings people together to play games, but all of the people in the marketing material are like young adults, no kids whatsoever. That would still actually appeal to kids in sort of like a, subversive manner, because kids always want to be doing something more mature, so they see these like young adults and they think they're cool, right? And then they want to do the thing that they're doing, kind of thing. It's a really weird way to market, but it is the effective way. Or
that's how I started smoking.
And then also, and I've mentioned this before, is keep the Wii going as a third pillar, as a solely casual market system. With the Wii Sports, Wii Fit, etc. Have much less emphasis on it, but do demonstrate to consumers that the Wii and the new system, whatever it would be, is something entirely different from each other. If you want your casual motion gaming stuff, that's on the Wii. And if you want your actual dedicated gaming hardware home console experience, that's the blah blah blah, whatever this is. Okay. So those are some thoughts.
Okay.
Galen.
You hit on a couple of them that I also had, specifically like increasing the hardware specifications of it. I have some different thoughts on other aspects.
Well, tell me about it.
Make the console bigger. Honestly, this
the
is
physical
gonna sound
size?
weird. Yeah, the physical size of the console I think should have been bigger. And I think that I get the idea of wanting it to be portable and wanting to be able to carry it around to other people's houses, but frankly, I don't really see in a community where people were already doing that with their LAN computers when they were that dedicated to be able to do that. I think that if they double the size of the system, they could have put so much more hardware into it, and better hardware as well. I think they had to make sacrifices to, like, the 2 gigs of RAM versus the 8 gigs. They could have put better cooling in it to include better processing and more power into the unit itself. A redesign of the controller would be nice. I think they could have made the screen a little bit smaller, made a little bit more ergonomic as far as like holding the thing. I would have had them double down on the focus of the gamepad itself. Specifically, I would have had the ability to have multiple gamepads sync up to the system. Because their online network has never been up to par and really been a focus of what they wanted to do, especially at that time. So I get the asymmetrical gaming, but you're putting yourself into a point where only one person can have that experience. So I think that if you made the gamepad the sole focus of the system, and every person who was playing the game could have that similar experiences, it's going to entice more third parties to want to develop with that in mind.
You just gave me sort of a thought. I wonder and this is so, technical that, it becomes unfun if you think about it too much, but I wonder if it would be possible if they could have created the gamepad to be a semi self-functioning unit, like how the Switch is, but like make it semi self-functioning where you can take it out and do its own thing. However, it can only run like your virtual console. So like you basically get a portable virtual console. You can play your NES up through your 64 or whatever they did. And that's portable. You want to play the full games or whatever, then you need to sit with your system or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would even be possible, but I think that could have been a selling point if that was something that they could have done, at least to some of the market of like older fans who have not played a Nintendo console in a long time or something like that. And they're like, oh, hey, Mario Bros, cool. You know what I mean? And then they have that and they're like, oh, cool, I can play it and my kid can play it too. Like that kind of stuff. You want to appeal to that market as well. So it's interesting to kind of think about these things. That's why like marketing a console is like difficult as shit. It wasn't like, oh, marketing the Wii U should have been easy and they completely screwed it up because Nintendo are idiots. Like, no, marketing is really, really difficult to figure out where your market is, anticipating trends, Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Please go on.
No, it's fine. This one's going to be a little controversial, but I think they should have removed the Wii backwards compatibility. I don't think they should have added it into the system.
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with you. I just didn't really state it because, I said like keep the Wii going kind of thing. Like definitely distance it, separate it AF from the Wii.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that really limited what they could have done potentially with the system. And especially with that same naming convention, that kind of falls into the same thing of, okay, what system am I developing for? Am I developing for the Wii or the Wii U, or what's going on here?
Right.
Because I think back at like the biggest flaws of the Wii U itself, and I feel like the lack of third-party support was one of the biggest failures of the system. People didn't know what to do with this system. They didn't, and even with the development atmosphere of it, it was so much easier and so much more appealing to make it for one of the other consoles.
That's why the gamepad concept is so hard, because it's like, do you just remove that entirely? Do you make it optional? But then if you make it optional, you have to, I don't know, they really gave themselves a tough situation, because I like having like my UI super clean and then I look down and I see my map. Like those are very simple implementations that I think work. Is it worth having that price built into your hardware cost? You know what I mean? It doesn't work. The dual screen gaming thing doesn't work like it does with the 3DS, because with the 3DS, you are looking in the exact same spot. You're not moving your head at all to switch between screens. You are just looking with your pupils, your eyes, whatever I'm trying to say.
I still feel like my greatest experience with the Wii U was in that launch window. And while the game definitely could have been improved in several different ways, I really think that Zombie U was one of my favorite games for the Wii U. Because it really tried to showcase the potential of what you can do on this system. Being able to have a UI-less experience on the screen and everything on a second screen at your fingertips to be able to look at. Being able to have that interactivity of there are zombies that are coming at you and you're at a keypad, and physically having to touch the keypad, randomly entering in numbers with a race of can you do this before the enemy gets to you. Like, that's a really cool concept.
They built it into the gameplay where it's like, you feel like I'm actually looking into my backpack right now because I'm physically looking down at my inventory, and then I have to look up at the TV screen and make sure there's no zombies around me.
That's so cool.
Right. But I think that those are the exception rather than the rule of like what really would have happened with that, which is a shame because I personally want that kind of experience from time to time. I think it was really cool.
Also, another thing that I would change is showcase that experience and let the fans be able to get that that secondary exposure going. I remember around that time, it was a big thing of nobody was covering Nintendo games. Nobody wanted to talk about it specifically because Nintendo was really cracking down on their copyrights on places like YouTube. And especially when Let's Playing was really blowing up on YouTube around that time. Like, that was kind of the heyday that a lot of those big gaming-esque names started to go into play, and they just completely missed that entire opportunity.
Yeah.
So that would be another thing I would change, is really kind of embrace that culture. And they've tried to embrace the culture since then, and it just hasn't had the same impact.
Well, that's why I say, like, with Mario Maker, launch it with Mario Maker and embrace that online streaming and YouTube culture.
I mean, it's hard to consider that one as a thing because Mario Maker also did really come out late in the Wii U's lifespan. So it's a question of, did they have that idea around the time that the game first came out? Because they did come out with a new Super Mario Bros. Wii U.
Yeah, don't come out with that. Just come out with Mario Maker instead.
Yeah. So there definitely could have been a lot of things that Nintendo could have changed.
But at the same time, because of the Wii U's failure, we got the Switch, and I like the Switch. I still have complaints about the Switch for sure, but I enjoy when a console maker does fail or, do poorly, because then it challenges them that next time to, here's a phrase that I hate, really step up their game. Well, that's why I'm excited to see what the Xbox Series X is, because the Xbox One was such a mediocre, I don't know, existence.
No, Nintendo has always been about pushing that envelope of creativity within the gaming environment. That's how we got, the motion gaming that is the Wii. So, but I mean, without the failure of the Wii U, Nintendo never would have been able to find out what gamers really want, and that's a system that they can take to the bathroom with them. Right.
I don't know about you, but I call mine the shitch. That was good. So, Jay, thank you so much for that question. What are your thoughts? Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Like, I think everybody feels pretty opinionated on, like, the Wii U thing, especially in retrospect. Would love to hear what other people have to say about this, because anytime I read this in, like, comment sections or something like that, it just turns into a big, like, gobshite argument between each other, and it's awful to read, so I don't. But our listeners are cool as shit, so you guys write into us and let us know your thoughts.
Yeah. The Wii U had some amazing potential, and we know that because so many Wii U games are being remade and placed onto the Switch itself. So, Wonderful 101, Captain Toad's Treasure Trove.
You have to say port, Galen. So, write into us. We need more emails. That's nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That email one more time is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
McClunky. So what's coming up? What's coming out? NintendoEverything.com. 24/7 news. You know it. We're always on top of it. Threw in an extra syllable there. Got some translations. Got some good stuff coming up. Stay tuned to us also on our Twitter. That's @NinEverything. And our YouTube. YouTube.com/NinEverything. Send me emotional support, personally, on my Twitter. @Oni_Dino.
You know he's not sleeping, so...
That's true. My cat vomited at 4 a.m. and woke up to clean it. Beautiful. A haiku by Oni Dino. And I've been meaning to upload a picture or a video of myself dancing on my Instagram. Maybe I'll do that this week. Oni__Dino for the Insta. Galen, where do you talk about dancing?
I talk about dancing on Twitter. You can find that @Mobius087. And you can see my uploaded pictures and videos on Instagram at the handle true_Mobius. I was thinking about it the other day, and I remember that I have some interesting video footage of Oni and I doing karaoke in Japan from last year that might come to light. I'm not quite sure.
Last year?
2019. We were in Japan together at the same time.
Yeah. Huh.
That one time we went to go do karaoke?
I had zero memory. Galen, I think that I block out all of my memories that I have with you.
That was Akihabara Blackout Night.
So you can see the aftermath of that, I guess, on our socials. So definitely follow us there.
Remember, Oni__Dino is spelled with a K.
Oh my god, I'm going to kill you with a K. How about that?
Huh? All right.
Don't worry, I'll cut that out of the podcast. But I just and this too. But I just want you to know, if you embarrass me again on this podcast, I will fly over to visit you, knock on your door, surprise you with an open palm slap to the face, and then I will shoot you in the knee. Don't worry, I'm cutting that out.
Yeah. KUT.
So we'll see you all next week. Please do leave us a rating or a review on iTunes or whatever, and share us on your favorite Discord, something like that. That helps us grow so much. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. Until then, for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo. Everything.
If the sun